NATO nations build up a major military presence in Lithuania in preparation for World War III. Pelosi labels Republicans not wanting to give infinite amounts of U.S. taxpayer money as pro-Putin operatives. I'll share some positive inflation news that could bring prices of goods down. And President Biden's OPEC manipulation comes back to bite him and us in the butt, and OPEC nations finally reveal the truth. Thank you so much for liking and sharing these videos. I really appreciate it. I'm out of town, but there's so much big news. I stepped away in order to bring it to you today. Now, if you have any money in the stock market, IRAs, 401ks, do not miss my interview with Todd Horwitz from earlier today. He's got 44 years of seeing the good, the bad, and the ugly, and he gives really great ideas about how to get through this next stock market crash. Now, just weeks from the midterms, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is attempting to sidestep the problem of inflation. She stated, "When I hear people talk about inflation, we have to change the subject." Pelosi went on to claim that inflation is a worldwide issue, not just a United States issue. And the main fight needs to be to change the cost of living, not to change inflation. However, the cost of living is inflation. It's what's making the cost of living so expensive. So Democrats continue to ignore what voters want them to fix most in an attempt to make Republicans look bad. However, new polling data in the last couple of days shows that more and more the country believes that Republicans are going to be the party that brings inflation and the rising cost of living back down to a more normal level. Now, Nancy Pelosi also said Republicans in the House are making a mistake by publicly saying that their strategy next year will be less money to Ukraine. Essentially, Kevin McCarthy and many other top Republicans came out and said, if Republicans take back the House, that they are going to fight back against giving so much U.S. taxpayer money to Ukraine. They basically want accountability and limits on how much of our money goes overseas. Well, now Pelosi is trying to label these Republicans as pro-Putin operatives, not wanting to give away taxpayer money. So there's a big clash going on as far as if you don't want to just give unlimited amounts of American taxpayer money, then you must be a Nazi. You must be a pro-Putin operative. Now, 3,500 NATO nation military men and women have just entered Lithuania. So this is 14 different nations are now building up a major military presence on the Lithuania-Belarus border. Now, Putin and Belarus, we know, continue to build up their combined military presence on the Ukraine northern border. And now Russia's Air Force is moving out of Belarus freely as it attacks Ukraine. NATO is also building up reserves in Poland. Poland is now dubbed as the top hub for weapon transfer from NATO over to Ukraine. So the NATO versus Russia and Belarus situation is accelerating. I'm not going to overhype this and say it's escalating, but it is definitely accelerating, and each side is prepared to counter the other should somebody make a massive military move. Okay, now I want to share some good news with my community. It will take some time to make it through the system, but according to port authorities, the backlog of ships coming in off the coast of California through the Los Angeles port has fallen from 109 ships waiting to get goods into the country down to just 4 ships. This means that the bottleneck in the supply chain is finally working itself out. Another piece of good news is the cost of shipping from importing goods from foreign nations has dropped by 84% recently. Unfortunately, the cost of shipping things in was about $20,000 per container. I mean, this thing went parabolic. It was just crazy exponential growth in pricing because of security, diesel costs, all of the different sanctions. Well, now they're saying that it's costing around $2,720 per container. So that's an 84% drop in shipping costs. That's huge. And that drop in shipping price will eventually lower the cost per goods, right? So if you had 200,000 things in there, you've got to add that $20,000 per shipping container. Now they can lower that to 2,720. That's going to lower the price of all goods coming into the country, also raw materials coming into the country, electronic components, everything that comes in that we are importing. So that hopefully those lower prices will hit sooner rather than later. But I just wanted to share with you that that reduction in shipping costs is going to be passed on to the American people. Now, some big news is coming out of OPEC. OPEC has now opened up about why they reduced production by 2 million barrels a day, and the United States and G7 nations are to blame. This weekend, top leaders of OPEC Plus admitted the United States and Nato threatening to impose an oil price cap sanction was a major factor in their decision to lower oil production output by 2 million barrels a day. So they've said, everybody stop buying oil from Russia. And then Russia became more powerful and fed their war machine even more. And so now they're saying, wait a minute, brilliant idea. We'll just put a cap on the price. And so they're saying this weighed major on our decision to lower production. When it was learned that President Biden told OPEC nations only Russian oil would be hampered by the price cap, then they said, but wait a minute, Russia is part of OPEC Plus. And so they worried that they would all be affected just by being associated with Russia. So they came together, they had a meeting, and they lowered production as a counter move to the United States and the G7 nations they worried were about to impose these sanctions or these price caps. So United States leadership tried to cap Russian oil at $60 a barrel, but now leaders at the U.S. Treasury say that would only affect about 10 to maybe 20% of Russian oil, since now most of that oil is being sold to non-NATO and non-EU nations, basically India, the Middle East, China, Japan. They're all buying that Russian oil. And so these caps have essentially backfired, and the prices will go up after the midterm election. But it's not really Russia to blame at this point, and it's not even entirely OPEC to blame. OPEC is now saying, listen, the United States and the G7 nations meddling in price manipulation made us interfere with production manipulation. So that just came out over the weekend. So the oil caps are going to backfire, and that probably won't take effect until after the midterm election. But India and China have said they have no intention of capping Russian oil because it would affect their ability to get very affordable oil and gas for their citizens. And they're putting their countries before the Russia-Ukraine war. Russia continues to attack Ukraine's electric grid. Zelensky issued a statement to his people which reads, "The main target of terrorists is energy. Therefore, please be even more careful than before about the need to consciously consume electricity. The stability of the power industry in our entire state depends on each city and district in Ukraine." President Joe Biden has touted student loan forgiveness numbers while at Delaware State University. He stated, in less than a week, close to 22 million people have already given us information to consider this life-changing relief. The Biden administration is expecting debt forgiveness to be issued to around 40 million Americans, so he urged more and more people to go sign up and give the government your information. Biden also took the opportunity to attack Republicans on the student loan debt relief. He stated, "I don't want to hear it from MAGA Republican officials who had hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt, even millions of dollars of pandemic relief loans, who now are attacking me for helping working and middle-class Americans." Now, last week I told you how the Supreme Court refused to weigh in on a president's authority to forgive student loan debt, but one lawsuit remained. Now, a federal court has put a temporary hold on that debt forgiveness while they review the president's authority, but the White House has said, continue to sign up as if it's going to happen. Now, new polling data shows 80% of hardcore Democrats believe Republicans are the greatest threat to the nation, and 80% of hardcore Republicans believe Democrats are the biggest threat to America. This isn't good. We shouldn't be seeing each other as enemies just because we have differing opinions on how to run the country. But it's mostly the leaders on the extremes of both party continuing to sow this hate so that we will hate each other and blame the other party for ruining the country. Now, the January 6th committee finally subpoenaed former President Donald Trump. He is required to provide documents by November 14th and appear before the 14th of November. Liz Cheney has promised that Donald Trump will not make this into a circus. Trump said he would only do this if he could testify live, which means he plans to say things they won't be able to censor if it's on national live TV. So let me know in the comments, what do you think is going to come out of this? Do you want Trump to run again? Do you want totally new candidates? No Trump, no Biden, just two good candidates or three good candidates the country can choose from. Now, this is my update for today. As I know more, I will come on and share more with you. Make sure to take 20 seconds to get your name registered to be one of the winners of the $8,000 in cash and prizes Casey and I are giving away, thanks to generous video sponsors. 40 of you are going to win one of these amazing Freedom Lover hoodies, and some of you are going to win up to $500 in cash, but everyone will get a hoodie and everyone will get cash that wins, so I'll leave that link below. Now, before you go, I want to remind you that you are amazing. I appreciate you being in my community. Make sure to check out this video and be subscribed to the channel. Also, make sure to check out this awesome interview with Todd Horwitz if you have money in the market. Hey, I appreciate you stopping by today, and I will see you on the next video.